Hi, Dom. How are you?
I'm doing good, Mike. How are you?
Pretty good. Pretty good for this week.
I just we just escaped a tornado warning.
I that's
I,
all
I
we
mean, I
are.
mean, it was the classic big nothing burger, but
Yeah.
like, oh my God, people were freaking out online.
Wow.
They were
Yeah.
like, have your generator ready. Like, expect golf ball ha sized hailstones.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
we're like,
Yeah.
okay, thank God that didn't happen.
Yeah. Tornadoes are not good.
No.
And I mean, it's not occasionally during the summertime we'll get them, but and to tell you the truth, if they include hail, I'm actually probably as scared of that as I am anything, because it's like I don't want my car
Oh,
looking
right,
like,
exactly.
yeah, someone was throwing golf balls at it. But yeah, that's I'm glad you escaped that. There in Portland, and here I am on the East Coast, and so luckily nothing like that. There's just been some threats of winter weather, but so far we've kind of held that off. So, but getting to the movie, this is your pick this
Getting
week.
into the movie, this is my pick. We're doing Barry Levinson's 2012 found footage horror, The Bay. And
Yeah.
I picked this so I can say this. I'll be the first to say this ain't a great movie. I did not choose this because it is the best, finest, best horror or anything I've seen. But this has certain key elements that just oh, they just speak to me. This checks so many boxes of the things I love, and we'll get into that. But
Yeah.
for those who don't know, who have never seen this, have never heard of this, um, The Bay is a found footage horror that involves a small news crew that's in this tiny coastal town, uh, covering, I believe it's like a 4th of July celebration, like
Yeah,
a
it is.
crab celebration or something
Yeah.
like that. And in the midst of this, there has been pollution brewing in this bay that has mutated creatures that basically are infecting the townspeople and causing mass deaths, mass outbreaks of insanity. There were mindless attacks. Um, but yeah, so it's sort of like this crew is filming this tragedy from the inside.
Right, right. Yeah, it's actually it's back in my days of doing antique delivery, I used to do occasional deliveries on the Maryland shore, and this actually takes place on the Maryland shore, uh,
Hmm.
which is a beautiful area. It always bugged me a little bit about how remote it is, because when you're trying to get to an address to
Yeah.
deliver something, which we would be delivering antiques to these wealthy estates on the Maryland shore, and the the access points. It's all like, but the scene behind you, the bridge, those bridges, if those get cut off, and at the very end of each end of the Maryland shore, um, if you get either one of those bridges cut off, you're kind of screwed. Other than by boat, you're not getting off that. That it's a peninsula, really, and it's broken up by bridges. It's yeah, it's remote access. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that. Is it's good luck
And
getting
in the
out.
movie, this town was fairly efficiently isolated
Right.
because of those access points.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I've ever since we started this YouTube channel, I've been thinking about this movie because this movie reminds me so much of the very first movie we did, Jaws.
Oh, yes. Yep. Yeah.
It's a seaside town. It relies on tourism. There's potentially deadly things in the water, and the mayor doesn't want to shut it down.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
wants to gloss over any potential problems.
Yeah, if you have a town that relies on tourism and relies on, just even your locals going out and taking advantage of with this one there was the crab, the Miss Crustacean was
Yep.
was a yeah, and she didn't end up too well. But
None of these people.
no, none of them. In fact, the people that are right behind me in this scene with they were doing was it a crab eating contest? It
I
was,
think it was a crab eating
yeah.
contest.
And I love shellfish of all kinds. I
Hmm.
love lobster. I love clams. I love certainly crab, like Alaskan king crab is fantastic. All of it's good, but these people are eating it, and they begin to get sick, and it's not due to contaminated shellfish
Well, it's
or,
sort of a contaminant.
well, yes, you're right. You could say it was contaminated, but it's contaminated with organisms, and that's what's making people get sick.
And
And
ultimately killing them. I mean, in
yes,
very horrific ways.
yeah,
And that is the first box it checks for me is I love a good body horror.
right, right,
Like if there like if there's an axe murderer out, if it's Jason trying to kill you, yeah, horrifying. If it's Jaws, if it's a shark trying to kill you, horrifying. But if it's your own body that is
yeah,
just destroying you from the inside,
yeah.
that's one of the most horrific horrors I can possibly imagine.
I'll tell you because giving my opinion about the movie, um, I enjoyed it. I'm glad I saw it.
Oh, good.
I did definitely enjoy it, and it's not something that I would not recommend to people. I would, but I do find it slow paced,
Mhm.
and it was probably slower paced than what I would have hoped for.
It took a
And
little while to get going, even though it clocks in at only 85 minutes.
yeah, and I think that's, to tell you the truth, I think that was probably my biggest criticism is how long it did take to get going.
Mhm.
And I think I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of the horror aspect. I would have liked to have seen just a little bit more. And I get what they're doing with this movie because they're trying to get across, what's going on. It's it's a little bit of an investigative. I mean, they have this scene here behind me right there with the fish. They're that there's two researchers that are trying to figure out why they're losing all this, you know, all the fish in the area, and there's problems, and so they're actually pulling fish out, and the fish have these. It's a little hard to see from behind me, but there's those same organisms like right here. They are in the fish. They're coming out of the fish and they are attacking people. Um, but they're also getting infected in the water. They're getting the organisms inside of them. They're being contaminated in many ways. And so, yeah, that's probably one of the more horrifying, but it does take a long time to get going. And that's probably my biggest criticism is how long it does take. Once it gets going, there's some good scenes. I like some of the scenes. The doctor, the dedicated doctor who decides to stay behind, and his experience with the CDC is not going well. He's trying to get answers. They're really, giving him. They're being very vague, and when he does, I'm losing you, Dom, on audio. I don't know if the audience can hear, but I totally lost you. Um,
I don't know.
okay, now I got you.
Okay, I don't know how that happened. I didn't touch a thing, but oh well.
Well, at any rate, like I said, the doctor, um, there's one point where they actually tell him you probably should leave. And here he is, a dedicated doctor that's staying behind for his patients. And they're basically saying, we don't even understand how you're not contaminated now.
Yeah,
And he's
this
like,
does not put the CDC in the good in a good light.
no, but they painted themselves in bad lights before. But I
Well,
mean,
one of the reasons it comes off this way in this movie was written by Michael Wallach.
okay,
He is also responsible for the documentary, The Viral Delusion. He's a COVID denier.
okay,
He does not believe the virus existed.
right, right.
So I am
But
not surprised how he presents the CDC in this movie.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I would say he's not alone, but it's also, it's kind of, it's at this point, it's for even people that are trying to deny it, it's kind of, no matter what you say about like COVID and whatever, it's kind of hard to deny that it that it didn't exist. You
Right.
know,
And that's the thing. Could you make the argument that the government manipulated the pandemic for its own purposes?
yeah,
You can. You can.
yes, yeah,
Could you could you question the vaccine? It's a novel mechanism of action. Yeah, I can see how you would be concerned about that.
yeah.
But can you argue that the virus existed?
Well,
That's a tough thing to say.
and I actually had a pretty good friend that died from it.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, uh, that in itself is something that it makes it a little hard for, I would be hard pressed to deny that it didn't exist. I mean, what ultimately killed him was maybe something a little different, but as far as what put him in that place, it was absolutely COVID. He ended up in the emergency room because he couldn't breathe, and it was because he had gotten COVID. And so, yes, did it exist? Yes, absolutely. Um, to say that it didn't, come on. I mean, I can get into conspiracy theories, but there's some things. It's like, come on, let's not go off the rails, you know. So no, that's foolish. But yes, I understand that there are definitely people that will deny it to the end of time, but um, like they'll deny a lot of things. But like I said, I can get involved in conspiracy theories. I cannot go
Well,
that
we
far,
all
but
love a good conspiracy theory.
sure, we all do it. I mean, I'm as guilty as the next guy, but as far as this movie goes, like I said, I definitely liked this reporter. I liked the doctor. I thought both of them were like, there were some intriguing people.
Mhm.
I was kind of surprised how they killed there was that family with the little kid and the mother and the I was kind of surprised how they took them down real
Oh, they
rather
were
quickly.
ruthless.
Yeah, so yeah, there were certain things that um some of them I thought like there was that couple there and I thought they would hang around a little longer. That's her jumping in the water, and man, they took them out both of them out real fast. So that like I said, there were I maybe would have liked to have seen a couple of people that were maybe a little bit like longer
I, I, I,
lasting.
I would have loved to have seen a longer, basically disease process.
Yes,
I,
yeah,
I, I thought, again, I love the body horror. I find that something that's attacking your body from the inside out and killing you that way
yeah,
is horrifying. But I wish I could have seen a longer arc of that.
yeah. And another thing is like again with that family when they got off the boat because and that was one of the things that you're thinking to yourself, don't get off the boat because her
Oh my
mother.
God.
Yeah,
You can't get a phone signal. The town looks dead.
oh yeah,
Don't get off the boat.
yeah. That's I mean I kind of would have looked at my wife and gone, maybe we should get back on the fucking boat. But yeah, so that's another thing that I found. a little bit disappointing was when they did get off the boat and they started to head into there was a bar and there was a lot of bodies around there. There was at one point the wife was standing there and she kind of like felt something dripping on her and it was blood. And when she looks up, there's a woman like bleeding like down on top of her. And so anyway, they kind of like were just like wandering around that dock. I would have liked to have seen like some, and maybe they didn't have the budget to do some of the scenes, but I would have liked to have seen some more horrifying things going on in the bar. I would have liked to have seen them explore it. And then this woman here was like really horrifying at the Miss Crustacean Festival when she was walking around like screaming and yelling like "Help me" and stuff, and everybody's just kind of looking at her horrified. She's covered in blood. Um, I would have liked to have seen some more scenes fleshed out, and I think those are the things that probably bothered me the most. It was not seeing that. I lost you again on audio, Dom.
Here's the other box that
Okay. Yeah.
movie checks off is the box of creativity, the box
Yeah.
of doing a lot with a little. And I don't know if you recall me telling you how this movie got made, but this movie eventually actually started out as a documentary.
Um, yes, you did mention that. I
So,
do remember.
so Barry Levinson and his crew were taking footage to make a documentary of pollution in the Chesapeake Bay. But then he found out that Frontline was coming out with a show on the exact same thing, and they were going to
Okay.
come out soon before his was going to be done. He was like,
Right.
well, I could make this, but who's going to care
Yeah.
after they've already done it? And
Yeah.
so he pivoted on a dime and turned it into a found footage horror, which is why the movie plays a little odd.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Um, it kind of reminds me, like I said, I think I might have mentioned the documentary which I love, Vernon, Florida,
Yep,
and we will have to do that at some point because it's a lot of fun. He, the filmmaker goes and he starts filming in Vernon, Florida, because he heard that there were people in, and I don't want to get off track on Vernon, Florida, but he heard that there were an unusual number of people who had lost limbs, whether it was fingers, thumbs, hands, legs, feet, whatever, through accidents, and that they had collected on insurance.
accidents.
Yes, yes. So apparently, when he started filming down there, the people in Vernon, Florida, didn't take real kindly to him going down there because he was disturbing their lucrative business of
It's a
collecting
cottage
insurance.
industry.
Yes, it was quite an industry. Well, he got footage and he had to leave and basically flee Vernon, Florida with the footage that he had. And it turned into a very good documentary. So that's all I'll say about that. We should do it at some point because it's a fun movie.
We still
But
haven't done a documentary, so yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah, for sure. So, like I said, this one actually, I mean, it's this one is not obviously a documentary, but I can see the flavor that it has of a documentary, and you
It's
can
funny
see,
because of the way it was made, a lot of the footage, great deal of footage came from what they'd collected for the documentary, but a
yeah.
lot of footage was taken by the actors themselves
Oh, is
on
that
their
right? I didn't
phones
realize
and their
that.
own cameras.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I could probably really see that, especially some of the footage around that bar when they were walking around there. It looked like they were switching a lot of cameras, so that's probably a big part of what you're talking about there. There was, I mean, it looked like the actors all had cameras on. I love found footage. There's some real bad ones out there. but when they're made well, they can be fun. And one of my guilty pleasures is actually the whole thing with oh shoot, that whole series on found footage of it's people filming in their house that they're uh, it's they're like I said, there's a whole series that has been made around that, and it's
Insidious?
what's that? No,
Insidious?
no, not the Insidious. It's
Paranormal Activity?
Paranormal Activity. Yes,
Okay.
those ones. There's I mean, I actually own several of them on Vudu, but there's a number of there's a number of those that I really enjoy. And I mean, people now probably criticize like Blair Witch and stuff like that. But when that came out, I enjoyed the hell out of that when that first came out.
I got to tell you, Blair Witch is what made me hate found footage.
Yeah, see, I
And
actually thought it was a
and
scary
here's
good
the
time.
reason. Like they did a very effective viral marketing campaign. So before the movie came out, I was really excited to see the movie. And they hyped the movie up so much that I was incredibly disappointed with the movie. I
Yeah.
was expecting so much more.
Yeah, see, I don't know. I didn't know what to expect. I heard good stuff about it, but I really didn't know what to expect. And I went into it kind of blind and I really enjoyed it. And I mean, afterwards, I heard a lot of people say, "Oh, well, it was a one-trick pony and one shot. You can't ever see it." Which I think I've only seen it the one time, but I would definitely go back and watch it again. It's
I'd
I
give it another chance.
I found it creepy. Some of the scenes, there's that scene in the basement with the guy facing the wall that
Well,
freaked
the
the
very last scene, yeah, but like the whole movie leading up to that,
Yeah, but I don't know, there was a lot of I just found some of the scenes creepy. The scenes like, some of the little hoodoo stuff in the woods with the the things hanging in the woods and stuff. I just found it a little creepy. And I liked how they gave you some background info on the area and uh, and some of the stuff that had happened from previously. And so yeah, like I said, I enjoyed it. It was to me it was
it,
fun. I didn't
it's a
consider
very
it
tough
great.
genre because, one of the benefits of found footage is that anyone can do it. It's extremely accessible, and
Yeah,
therefore there's a lot of it, which means there's a lot of bad
yeah,
found
there is a lot of bad. I've
footage.
seen a lot
I've
of
seen
bad.
great found foot like Cloverfield won me over.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like Cloverfield. Like I said, I've seen good, I've seen bad. Um, I've seen mediocre, which mediocre is probably the worst you can you can do. This one here, um, it bordered on the mediocre at the start, and I was really getting nervous, like, oh man, I'm not going to like this.
And you would be perfectly justified not liking it.
Yeah, well, it did draw me in, and it took halfway through the movie to draw me in. So then that's something that I would say to people watching it. It's I think it's a good movie, but be prepared for a long ride to the point where it starts getting like more fleshed out. Um, it's good.
And I gotta tell you, like, I chose this movie. I
Yeah,
like this movie. I've seen this movie 3 times.
yeah,
I will not advise it to anyone. Like you're not going to miss anything if you never see this in your life.
yeah. I mean,
Like,
I,
this is an all me thing.
well, I would agree to a certain point. It's not like this wouldn't be one that if there was a fire in a film vault, it's not going to be one of the ones I'm rushing to save. Um, there's a lot of other ones that I probably would go for first, or I know I would go for first, but including found footage. However, I will say this: I was entertained by it, and but it's a little bit of a harder sell, and I just would have liked a little bit more of the because there's some of the scenes that even we're putting up here. behind us, some of these scenes look um, like there's the potential for like more scare than what there is, and it's not. I wouldn't really call this in many ways a horror, except like it maybe like if you start thinking about the idea of horror because of like what we're putting in our waters and what we're doing to our environment, then that's the horror.
And that's another box that checks for me.
Yeah,
Like I can't remember when the first one came out, but yeah, maybe The Birds, Alfred Hitchcock.
yeah, yeah,
But I've got a fondness for eco horror.
yeah, yeah,
Nature turned against man.
yeah,
Because
and
again, like axe murder, yeah, scary. Shark, scary. How do you compete with the entirety of nature?
yeah, turning against you. Yeah, and there's been, I mean, I can think of a lot of movies that I've seen because, I mean, the time period that I grew up in, I'm old, and I was young during the early to mid 70s. And at that time, that sounds so long ago now, but it was. Um, but when I was, a kid to a teenager back then, and back then, there were so many movies that were being made, so many horror movies that were being made. There were even just movies like Squirm, The Stuff. There were all these different films that were. It was like your food products turned against you, or whatever, insects, whatever it was. There were all these things that.
Willard,
What's that?
Willard,
Yes, Willard. Yeah, there were.
Food
I
of the
mean, there was.
Gods.
Yeah, there were so many. I mean, there were things like the bees. There
I
were.
chose Phase 4.
Yeah, yes, yeah. Phase four is a good example. Um, Killer bees. There were, I mean, ants. You
What
know.
was the one with the mutated bear?
Oh,
Like the
well,
prophecy or
yeah, yeah. Well, I don't. I'm trying to think if Prophecy had the bear. I'm not sure Prophecy, but
it was one from the 70s.
yeah.
And these people were getting killed in the woods, and it turned out to be a bear mutated by mercury from a lumber place.
I think that was Prophecy. You're right. I think that was Prophecy. Yeah. There's so many, when you brought up bear, the first thing I started thinking of was Cocaine Bear,
Which
which
we'll have to
we
do.
have to do that one. I actually really like that one. That's a guilty pleasure. It's kind of like bad, but it's also like there's a lot of really good humor in that too. It's a lot of fun. That one female park ranger, that she's got a pistol, and man, she should not have a pistol. She she is cutting loose with that thing. Anybody that's when she's trying to shoot a bear, if you're anywhere near where she's shooting, you're probably going to get hit instead of the bear. But that's a fun movie. But yeah, so like I said, it's this does harken back to a lot of the environmental horror movies that are, the environment turned against you. So in that sense, I think it's good fun. Um, I just wish there were more. That's my big criticism. And if it wasn't for that, I would more readily recommend this. I lost you again on audio, Dom.
I'm more in love with the concept than the movie itself.
Yeah, yeah,
Now the couple that was traveling by boat and got off the boat into town.
yeah.
Did you recognize the wife?
Um, I'm trying to think which one behind me now was the wife. Oh, Cabin in the Woods. Okay. Okay, yep, yeah, now I do, but
Yeah, this
yeah,
that's Kristen Connolly.
yep. Which when I see Kristen Connolly, these are people that like looked familiar to me when I brought up the cast and when I was watching the movie, but none of them stood out as being like known names to me that I could pick out from a certain movie. Now
Very
that
few of them are big.
Yeah. Now that you put up the cabin in the woods behind you, it's like, yes, I know who that is, and I know where I saw her before.
It was annoying me so much. I'm watching her in the movie. I'm like, oh, where do I know her?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I definitely even the reporter actually seemed fairly familiar to me, but I
She's
can't.
been in You're the Worst, The Mindy Project, and Pitch Perfect.
Yeah, Pitch Perfect. I've uh, have to say I have seen that, um, but but I say that with a little bit of blush to my, but I have seen it. Um, and no, I didn't like nobody really. The doctor even seemed familiar to me, but I couldn't really place him from a certain movie that I saw. Stephen Kunken, is that what his name is?
Stephen
Doc,
Kunken is the doctor, I believe, the doctor that stayed behind in the hospital.
yes, yep.
He's been
Dr.
in The
Abrams.
Wolf of Wall Street,
Okay.
The Bridge of Spies. He was in Jason Bourne.
Okay.
He was in Billions and A Handmaid's Tale.
See, that's why I recognized him. He was a familiar face, but I there was nobody in this movie, and that's maybe my own.
I usually research the cast because I like to see what they've been in. There are a number of cast members in this movie. There are no other credits to their name.
Yeah, to honest to God, like I usually try to do a little bit more. This was a busy week for me too.
Yeah.
It was a long week, but I usually try to do a little bit more, but I didn't. I have to say I really fell down on that this week. But yeah, the standouts in this were probably the doctor, Dr. Abrams, this reporter here. I thought she did a
Yep.
really terrific job.
Mhm.
Um, I liked the couple. I thought they added a lot to the film. Um, that was probably the most standout. There was that young couple. You see her going in the water there, but they kill them off so fast. I would have, I would have liked them to hang around a little bit longer. So there were certain people that, and I know with horror movies you're going to lose people quick, but I thought like they should have. It would have been more effective if certain. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more core characters hang out longer because they killed off the researchers real quick too.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't form an attachment to any of the characters. So you weren't that concerned when they died, when they were in danger. It wasn't as horrific as it could have been had they taken the time to gotten you to care about the characters.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So again, like I said, those are probably my big criticism or slow moving, at least initially.
But
And
this is this guy's only horror movie.
oh, is that right? Yeah.
So we've already seen one of his movies. He did Tin Men.
Oh wow, that was him that did Tin
That
Man.
was
Yeah.
him. He did Rain Man.
Okay. Wow.
He
Yeah.
did Good Morning Vietnam.
Yeah.
Like
Okay. Yeah.
he's
So
done a lot of great movies.
yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't have known him by this movie at all.
Well, exactly. And that's again, that's another reason why it checks my box. It's an anomaly for this guy. It's like it's
Yeah.
out of the blue.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I said, there were things about this that I enjoyed, but some of the things that I enjoyed about it were like oddball things. Like I got a lot out of the footage of the Maryland shore because I've spent a lot of time on the Maryland shore. So I was like, wow, uh, some of the footage was kind of cool seeing it again. It's been a while. Um, I would have liked a little bit more. Uh, it kind of even the stuff with the cops when they were driving around. Some of the footage that's behind me right now with I would have liked to have seen like and it was effective. They didn't show like what happened inside that house, but I would have liked a couple of creepy shots. Some people huddled in a corner or something. They wouldn't have had to show a lot, but just enough to actually like creep me out. Um, just a little more. it
No,
was,
no, I get you. Believe me, this is my choice. This is I am fond of this movie. I am not going to recommend it to anyone. If you're watching out there, you don't need to see this movie. I just wanted to present it. If you're curious, I'm willing to bet that there is a video of this movie on YouTube that you can access for free. Probably not the highest resolution, but
yeah,
not many people are concerned about anyone pirating this movie.
yeah. I didn't even because I actually I have it on. I when you mentioned the movie, I actually just went on Vudu. I found it for reasonable money. It was pretty cheap money. I just grabbed it, and and I never even looked to see where what other places had it available. So I can't say like, is it on Tubi? Is it on? I would
It's
really,
not on Tubi. Believe me, I always check any place a movie might be that you don't have to spend money for.
yeah, yeah, yeah. For this one, like I said, um I didn't really need to. It's if you're at all curious about this, you can definitely you could pick it up to own for, I mean, it's probably somewhere to own it. It would be probably 5-10 bucks on Vudu, and to rent it would probably be $3-4. So it's if you want to see the movie, and again, like I said, I have to say I enjoyed it. Would I highly recommend it? No. This is probably a 1.5 thumbs up.
Yeah,
It's
and again, I love this movie, and
yeah,
I'll meet you right there.
yeah. It's that's probably the harshest thing I'll say about it. I can't give it a I certainly can't give it a solid 2 thumbs up, but I will give it a a thumb and a half. But but it's again, like I said, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun time. So take that for what it's worth. It's worth a watch. Um, for someone that's easily bored, or if you need like a lot of quick action and horror movies, it's not a horror movie per se. It's a little bit more of like it's got
It's more of a
science.
disaster movie.
Yeah, it's like disaster horror science. It's someone if you're someone that's a little bit have that like nerdy science intrigue about stuff going wrong, this is probably gonna
And that's yet another box. It's
yeah,
very sciency. I love it when it doesn't even need to be a horror. If it's like movies like Containment,
yeah.
Pandemic. I'm trying to think of the one with Dustin Hoffman. And I can't Contagion.
Oh, Contagion, yeah, yep,
And so these medical things where you're trying to track down what's this disease? How do we isolate it? I'm a
yeah,
sucker for that as well, and that sort of had this.
yeah, yeah. It's like I said, it's definitely got its creepy moments. There, I wish there was a little bit more of that, but there is some cool things with I mean, I think everybody loves a everybody loves a little bit of an intrigue about like science gone wrong. It's modern day gone wrong, and
Well,
this
well,
one,
also, like, I don't know if you know what these things are. Isopods are fairly common, and it wasn't really dwelt upon in the movie. But what these things do is they get into a fish's mouth and they eat its tongue out and they embed themselves where the tongue was. So they're basically taking over the fish and eating the things it swallows.
wow, yeah, yeah. So yeah, nasty and yeah, I see that is another thing. I think they could have probably done a better job of actually explaining like what some of the process was.
I
That was
agree. I mean, that's the thing. I already knew about these things
yeah,
before I had even seen the movie.
yeah, yeah, and I don't have the science background or the medical background that you have, but But so for me, it was a little bit, I mean, I was just going more on what I was seeing that was coming into the medical office and, and seeing the doctor actually, he's at the point where he's like, wow, I got nothing left. There was nothing in the tank. He just kind of like, he was doing his level best to take care of patients. I mean, he was amputating limbs. He was doing whatever he could to help people that were in terrible condition
I
coming
mean that hospital was absolutely overrun. I don't know how big a town that was supposed to be, how big a hospital that was supposed to be,
couldn't have been very big.
but they clearly just were overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed. Yeah. Yeah, overwhelmed and his whole staff left. He was the he was actually the last he was the last man standing. And and that was the sad part because the CDC is saying, "Yeah, you ought to just flee out of there." And he's like, "I'm cutting off limbs here. I'm like I'm staying behind for my patients."
Oh, yeah, and there's another element to the film. This was a whole government cover up too.
Yeah, yes, it
Like they
was.
they cut the cell phone towers,
Yeah.
they
They
quarantined the town,
they closed off the bridges. You couldn't get out.
they
And
confiscated the footage. Like this footage was never supposed to be seen.
yeah, well, I'll tell you what, when Katrina happened, they shut the bridges down.
Mhm.
You could not get out of once they told everybody, and it's probably a good warning. If you're told to evacuate, get the fuck out because the people that didn't evacuate, once Katrina happened, they shut they shut New Orleans down, and so like if you were left there and you were stuck there, you were screwed, and you weren't getting out right away. They made everybody wait, which was to me one of the truly horrific things about what happened with Katrina. Um, and I won't get into that because that's a whole other story. But I'm just saying, when you have a chance to get out of an area, pay attention and get out. Don't I would have walked out of I would have walked out of there when I saw like what they were showing on the news, the size of that hurricane coming in. I would have looked at that and gone, "Yeah, I'm getting out of here." And I mean, I was actually watching footage on TV back then. I still remember very clearly thinking to myself, I wouldn't stay here. And I really thought to myself, I'd get out. But, you know, again, hindsight and all that good stuff. But yeah, these people, the bridges were shut down here. This was a government conspiracy too. Um, and the other thing is the pollution in this movie came from a whole lot of sources. What was there, a paper mill? There was a,
There was a chicken farm, so they were
yes,
dumping
yes.
chicken waste
Yeah, there
with
was a whole
all the antibiotics and the
chicken
steroids.
shit. Yeah. Yeah. Basically, it was pollution. And that's another thing, talking about like, this isn't even a conspiracy. This is like what we do with our produce, the hormones that we put in. A lot of countries won't even eat our foods because like I mean, I think it's Mexico has said for years, like, we don't want your chickens. They're full of growth hormones. I mean, we have sold them to other countries, and men have grown breasts, I mean, I'm sure we're full of a lot of the weird cases of things like breast cancer in males and things like that that have come up. The growth hormones that we put in uh, to grow a chicken in just a few days, whereas it normally would take, months to a year or whatever.
Oh,
But
okay, Mike, we're talking about horror movies. I'm not
yeah,
even brave enough to get into factory farming.
yeah. Well,
That is too much.
yeah, that's true. That's true. And I won't go any further with that, but I'm just saying when you talk about like dumping that into, a bay or something like that, and the fish eating it. It's no wonder that
And that wasn't made up. Like that was somewhat of what the documentary was about, is that
yes,
pollution.
yeah. So yeah, you end up with people running down the street yelling, "Help me!" and they're
Vomiting up
bleeding and
crabs.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, she literally had crabs. So, so, so but and this was so gross that
Oh,
when
totally gross.
when they were filming this and everybody starts they're puking and they're not just puking. They're puking. It would have been bad enough if like people were getting sick on contaminated shellfish or something, but these people were actually puking out blood and
It's just flowing out of them.
yeah. Oh yeah, it was like it was projectile vomiting. It was just and it's like the last thing you want to see at a seafood festival where you're buying it's like, let's buy some some crabs or some clams or something like that. It's like, yeah, they're all puking. Maybe we shouldn't be eating this stuff. So I think it kind of ruined the festival.
Best
But
festival ever.
yeah, really, most memorable. So, and I don't know how many people in the town died, but there were dead bodies all over the street.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't think any numbers were ever said, but I want to say like probably 90% of the people.
Yeah. Well, that was a horrific scene. It's actually the scene behind me here, but when the mother and the kid get in the car and they think I think they're inside of a police cruiser and she's going to try to drive that off because she's already
Mhm.
lost her husband. And the woman comes out of the back seat and she's just like gone mad. And she's like, holy shit, I got to get my kid and get out of here. I mean, like I said, there was some. I would have liked some more of that. I would have liked a little bit more.
No, I'm there with you. Right there. Maybe we'll make the Bay too.
Yeah, yeah. It's I needed that, or even some chick shots. I needed something. I needed something to just be to make the movie a little bit more colorful, a little bit more, some scenes of, even just some of those whatever those creatures were that I would have liked to have.
Isopods.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen those like eating the hand or something,
No,
just
again, preaching to the choir here. I would have loved more too.
yeah. And again, I get it. It was this had to have been an extremely low budget movie. So
Two
I
million.
understand. Yeah. I mean, what was the budget?
2 million.
Wow. That is, that sounds like when people hear $2 million, if you're not familiar with what it costs to make a movie, that sounds like, wow, that's a lot of money. $2 million to make a movie is nothing. It's absolutely nothing. When you think of what it costs to do, I mean, even just the editing, just all of the to hire cameramen, to
Feeding the crew.
yes, yeah. It's the amount of money that it takes just to put people up in trailers and to bring the trailers in. All of just the people that work on the set, and again, it's monumental. And then add in the cost of publicity and promoting the film and all of that. It's monumental, and it's what it costs to make a film nowadays. It's crazy. So when you hear somebody making a good film for like nothing, you're thinking to yourself, "Wow, that's amazing that they could do it for like 300,000." But and there are people that have done something like that. But man, you have to have a certain type of film. And this for a movie like this with special effects, um, 1 million, 2 million, that's chicken feed. Speaking of chicken feed. So, but
But
yeah,
on that note, I think we've said as much as we can on this one.
yeah,
Because again, I will wrap it up by saying I'm not going to recommend this movie. I chose this because this is my little thing. This
yeah,
is it's almost like the movie was made for me, but
yeah, yeah,
it's not that great a movie.
It is a Dom movie. It's a Dominic movie.
Yes.
But at the same time, like I said, I got enjoyment out of it. I definitely I had fun watching it. I'm glad I saw it. It's definitely one that I will, you know, will I try to like watch it again in the near future? Probably not, but if um, again, it's one of those ones I've said this before about movies that weren't necessarily my favorite. Would I revisit it? Yes, I would. Um, and having said all of that, you know, I would tell I would tell viewers that are listening to us now, um, if you like science-driven horror movies, movies that deal with like ecological disasters, things like
Or
that,
diseases.
yeah, this is probably one you'd probably really enjoy. Um, is it something for like the more extreme horror buff or somebody that likes like a really chilling? No, it's not for that person if that's all they're looking for. But it's a good time. It's fun. It's worth a look. So that's where I put it down. And having said all of that, I do have my pick for next week. Um,
Awesome. Okay. You ready
well,
to tell it?
the reason it's not necessarily what it's a I've got a good pick, I think, but but it was not. I pulled this one to the front because a good friend of mine actually asked me if this was something that I would consider doing, and a friend of mine, Adam, I'll say his name if he's listening right now. He
Give his
recommended,
address and social security number.
yeah, yeah, that's right.
What's his credit card?
Yes. So Adam, your information will be displayed later, but no. Uh, Adam recommended a movie called Green Room.
Oh, yep.
Are you familiar with that one,
I'm
Dom?
familiar with it. Yep.
Okay. I saw this one a little while back. Probably I say a little while. It was probably 4 or 5 years ago, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a good movie. It's
I
kind of
recall it being quite violent.
it's very violent. So it's probably a little more extreme than this one is, but
Much more.
but but it's kind of good fun, and it's definitely something anyone that hasn't seen it, I would recommend watching it before you listen to us talk about it because we will definitely be doing spoilers on that one.
Definitely be
Um,
doing spoilers. Although this isn't for everyone. I have a feeling I'm going to be watching this movie alone.
yeah, you won't get Lisa to watch this one, would
I
you?
don't think she's going to be up for that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, get some wine in her and
That's
see
not
if
going to help with
that's
this
not gonna.
movie.
Yeah, that might make her flee quicker. But uh, it's a good movie
It's a
if
good
you haven't
movie.
seen it. So it definitely violent. Dom is absolutely right. It's a fun movie, scary movie in some parts, but it's definitely violent.
And it's
So
got Patrick Stewart.
yes, yep. It's got a decent cast, and it's like I said, I think it's well worth watching. So that's what we're bringing to you next week, and compliments of Adam, my buddy Adam. So tune in next week and hear us talk about Green Room. And having said all of that, Dom, I think we can probably wrap this one up for
Yep.
this week. Thank you for bringing us The Bay. I did definitely enjoy it. I had a good time watching it. I hope anyone that tuned in and saw the movie before, I hope they thoroughly enjoyed it also. But so, yep, we're gonna say bye for this week to everybody, and we will see you again next week.
We'll see
And
you next
please,
week.
yep, like and subscribe as always. Dom, I will catch you next week for the green.
Definitely.
So.